Well, welcome to the sixth of six videos looking at what is project management. And what we're going to do in this particular video is go through the decision-making cycle, if you will, in terms of determining which project management life cycle model you're going to use. So let's get right into that. Man, look at that, a flow chart for you computer scientists out there. So when you're choosing this, first thing you're going to do, and we'll get more into this during Chapter 3, is you're going to write a project overview statement. Think of it as a one-page statement that kind of lays out the objectives and goals associated with a particular project. You're going to take that in, try to get senior management approval, and you're going to either get a yes/no decision. And get a no decision, you're going to go back and resubmit it until you get a yes decision, because otherwise you're not going to proceed in the project. Once you get senior management approval, you're going to go and document what's called a RBS, or requirements breakdown structure. So you're going to take the requirements and break them down, kind of moving through levels of detail until you've got a fairly good picture of what the requirements are for a particular project, or at least as you know them at that point. Once you have that done, you do a little bit of analysis around that, and if you think about that requirements breakdown structure, that's going to help influence, well, how much do we know about the goal of this project, and how much do we know about the potential solution to this project. Then you've got to go in and pick your project type. Are we going to do a traditional project, a agile project, an extreme, or a emergency project? Once you have that, then you can look at what model is going to be the appropriate model for this project. So, and we've talked through each of these: linear, incremental, iterative, adaptive, or extreme. And then finally, once you have that model done, you can start looking at the different types of approaches associated with that model. So in the case of linear, there are two different approaches. One's called waterfall and one's called rapid development waterfall. They're very similar, but we'll get into those in later chapters. For incremental, you've got stage delivery waterfall, or you have feature-driven design. All right, and again, we'll in later chapters get into what each of those two mean. For iterative, two different approaches again: an evolutionary development waterfall and a rational unified process are your two options there. Get into adaptive. You're going to have three possible approaches. Scrum, of course, is the one that gets a lot of news these days, but there are two other approaches to doing adaptive. And then finally, when you get to extreme, there's just one approach that you can possibly use. All right, well, very good. So this kind of lays out the decision-making process, and you don't have to have this memorized. We're going to spend a lot of time looking through this during the next chapter, at least that left side of the chart, you know, figuring out a project overview statement and the approval process and a requirements breakdown structure. But it kind of gives you the flow. If you understand this chart, what's going to happen over the ensuing videos and lessons is you're going to be able to explain this chart and use every component of this chart to solve a particular problem. All right, very good. Here's two slides that look at when do you use a particular model. All right, so linear, you got clearly defined solution and requirements. You're not expecting a lot of scope change. It's routine and repetitive tasks. That means you don't need the client as involved. You can use some unskilled or inexperienced is probably a better word, some inexperienced project team members, and you're using lots of templates. This is going to be plan driven, okay, in terms of the approach. Incremental is going to be very similar to linear, but you're going to deliver the business value early and often. You're trying to beat a competitor to business. You may be trying to convince senior management this is the right approach. There's some likelihood of scope changes, but again, that's why you have the incremental delivery. You can work those in to the next delivery and allow the client to do some prioritization on those. All right, iterative is going to be very different. Okay, now we're moving out of traditional into agile. You're going to have unstable or incomplete, and in fact, you may have two ors. unstable or incomplete requirements and functionality. And there's a lot of learning that's going to take place when you get to the iterative, not only by the project management team, but by the client, as you try to work through what the requirements and the functionality are going to be. Get to adaptive, same thing. You're going to have more changes and goals known but solutions not known. But you're further up, you're higher. If you can picture in your mind that four-quadrant project management landscape, you're higher up and further to the right when you start getting into the adaptive projects. And then finally, when you get to extreme, you're talking about projects where the goal or solution is not known. You're going to use iteration to work through multiple phases to hopefully converge on a goal and solution, and if not, provide early indications that you're not going in the right direction and you need to abandon this project. This is typically used for research and development types of projects. All right, well, look at that. We're at the end of the video, and we've covered everything in Chapter 2. So sad. I don't want to stop. I want to keep going. Oh, wait. We got Chapter 3 coming. All right, so come back. Join me in Chapter 3, where we start looking at the traditional project management approach, and we start looking at how we can scope a project. So keep on studying, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.